Hey guys, well, here is our syllabus presentation. I'm not doing this in class like I told you because you can read and I don't really want to read to you. So you can read them, but in case you want a few more details or a little more detailed explanation for some of these things, that's what this video is for. So first up, homework. So this is an important one to make sure you understand because probably most of your classes are all doing homework slightly differently. I will assign homework on a regular basis. It might not be every day, but it'll be at least probably every other day. And we'll have time in class to go over answers, to ask questions, to do things like that. But I will never collect or grade a homework assignment the following day. I want you to be able to work on them without fear of having to have things correct or done the next day. I want you to be able to get help on things and not worry about just getting an answer down so you get some credit for something. I care about you getting problems right and understanding what you're doing a lot more than just putting work down on a piece of paper. So what happens though is at the end of a unit, not a quiz, but at the end of a unit test, what we'll do is I will collect one homework assignment, as it says down here, one homework assignment out of that unit. Now you will not know before that day that I'm collecting them which homework assignment that is going to be. So if there are 10 homework assignments on the day of the homework check, I will write one of those assignments up on the board and you will turn that one in. If you do not have that assignment, well, then you're going to end up getting a 0 for that unit for the homework. The only way you can guarantee to get 100% for homework is to do all 10 assignments, or as you can see at the bottom of the homework section here, get an A on the unit test. If you get an A on the unit test, I will automatically give you 100% for your homework. I do this to reduce the amount of grading I have to do and give you more flexibility with your time and with your schedule on homework, so that really you have to have the homework done for the unit by the time we get to the unit test. All right, and as always with all of these, if you have any more questions, please feel free to ask them in class or come talk to me, and I'll be happy to do that. So let me talk quickly about actually grading the one homework assignment that I collect here. So I'm pretty much just going to grade it really quickly on a fully complete, partially complete, not enough complete scale here. You can kind of see it's broken down for you, the requirements. If you've attempted every problem with reasonable effort on the problems, you'll get full credit. If you have less than all of the problems, but more than half, you'll get some partial credit there. And if you've done less than half of the work on a worksheet, you're just going to get a 0 for that worksheet. So again, that one homework assignment that I collected in the unit is going to represent your grade for all of the homework assignments in that entire unit. All right, so moving on here, quizzes and tests, pretty straightforward. You've taken them before. Quizzes will be over smaller sets of information. Tests will be over entire units or much larger parts of a unit. They will be weighted. Quizzes will be weighted less than a test. Tests will always be worth more towards your grade than a quiz because it's covering more material. As you can see there, my expectation is that if you finish a quiz or a test before the time is up, you need to have something to work on. So if you have your Chromebook, something to read, whatever you want to do, you can do that. All right, testing, quiz, corrections, and retakes here. This is a big one. This is essentially like getting an extra life in a video game. But you got to do a little bit of work to earn it. So when you take a test or a quiz and you don't like your grade, this doesn't mean that you got a D or an F. I mean, if you get a C or even if you get a B and you don't like your grade, you can still go through this process to improve that grade. It's a 3-part process. All right, so we give you back the test or the quiz. First thing you have to do is you have to do corrections in every problem that you got wrong, that you lost any points for. I will provide pieces of paper to do this, so I'll have tons of them. You can grab them, grab a bunch, just have them in your folder so you can use them whenever you want. Once you feel you have the corrections done, then you need to meet with a math teacher. It can be me, it can be a teacher in the MARC, it can be a teacher that has the same free period as you that you've had in past years that you really work well with. I do not care who it is, as long as it is a math teacher that works at Grayslake Central High School. That math teacher will look over your corrections, will maybe ask you some questions, ask you to work on some similar problems, and when they are satisfied that you understand what you're doing, they're going to sign off on your corrections. Once you have your corrections signed, then you bring them to me and we will schedule a date to do a retake. Now you have to retake the entire test or quiz. So you got to make sure that you study not only what you got wrong, but also what you got right for the retake. Otherwise, you might end up getting points off on the retake that you didn't get off on the original test. One thing I want to make sure that we're clear on, corrections do not have to be done on your own. I do not care who you work on corrections with, your parents, your friends, a math tutor. You can even work on the corrections with a math teacher while they are checking your corrections to get them signed. I'm totally fine with that. The whole point of this process, guys, is that you figure out what it was you didn't know, you fix that, and so that you can perform better on those tasks or those concepts moving forward. We are dangling the carrot at the end of the stick of a complete grade replacement. So you can see the example, John Smith earns a 65%. He does his corrections, he meets with a math teacher, he does a retake, and he gets an 88. So his grade in the class on that test is now an 88. The 65% completely goes away. We never see from it or hear from it again. All right, so I think that's a pretty good deal. Please take advantage of that. Please take advantage of that. And we'll talk more about that when we get to the specific, when we get to our first test and quiz and can actually go through that process. All right, tardy. So here's the deal. You all checked that you read through the electronic handbook, which you may or may not have done, but you're still going to be held accountable for the behavioral expectations. So you probably want to make sure you know what they are. Tardiness. If you are not in your seat when the bell rings, you will be marked tardy. Now, here's the deal. I'm not going to be an absolute stickler for this unless we unless there's a problem. All right, unless we start really struggling to get class started on time, unless people are making it a habit to not be getting to their seats, just be respectful, and when that bell rings, either be in your seat or be getting there quickly, and we'll be fine. Going to the bathroom, this is gonna be a big one. You got to do it before class. This year we have a new system. I only have one bathroom pass. That means only one person may be out of the class at a given time. So if you really got to go, you better make sure you take care of it before class starts. Otherwise, you might have to hold it and wait for several people in front of you to use the facilities. All right, absences. So this is a big thing that always can cause people problems. You are responsible for the materials you missed. I'll have folders in the classroom with your name on it, and then when you're absent, anything I hand back, anything I hand out just goes right in that folder. So I'm going to expect you to be checking that folder when you come back and getting all the materials you missed. Now, if you have any questions about that stuff, please feel free to come talk to me and we'll go over that. But the way we do notes in the class makes it very easy to catch up on material instruction that you've missed in class, and you will be expected to make sure you stay on top of that. Tests and quizzes. When you're absent for a test or quiz, you can make that up until the very last day of the school year. All right, I do not put like a 2-week or an artificial deadline on making up tests and quizzes from being absent. Just the end of the semester. I do not use the test center. Do not go to the test center. All right, and you cannot make them up during class. There may be exceptions, but for the most part, 99.9% of the time, you cannot make up tests and quizzes during class. So you need to find before school, after school, lunch transition, study hall, something like that when you will have a time period. Talk to me, we'll schedule, I'll write you a pass, and then you can just come and take that test. I do not care if I have a class. I will put a desk out in the hall. Be happy to let you do that while I am teaching. The key is you have to have the free time to do that. You will have the same opportunity the class had. So if the class had one period to sit down and take that and only got to work on the test or quiz once, that's what you're going to get, regardless of the amount of time that you take. If the class had one 50-minute period, you can't take two 25-minute periods. That would be an unfair advantage that you get to look at the test, stop, and then start again. So just make sure you're taking that into consideration when you're planning to make up tests and quizzes. One thing I do want to say about absences is missing understanding from in class is just as important as tests and quizzes. So just because you didn't miss a test or a quiz, please don't think that you don't have stuff to catch up on and make up. All right. Discipline, all discipline issues will be handed according to the student handbook. Make sure you've read that. I know you're not getting a paper copy this year, but it is still electronic and you will be expected to have read that. One thing that I am very specific on is no phones. It's a really, really simple rule. All right, you ready for this? Do not have your phone out in class. Done. Right? And you can think of any reason why you might want to have your phone out in class, and my answer is going to be do not have your phone out in class. If you think you have an exception to that rule, you need to raise your hand and ask me. Unless you have express verbal, written, or some sort of body language permission from me to have your phone out in class, I should not see your phone once the bell rings. All right, you have Chromebooks, you have all the electronic capabilities you need without your phone. This just makes this process very, very simple in my classroom. No phones for any reason. The only exception being I have given you express verbal permission to have your phone out in class. All right. Help. This is always an important one. Before school, by appointment. So make sure you talk to me. I don't have any regular before school time that I set aside for students, but if you talk to me, we can probably work something out. After school. Tuesdays after school, unless something comes up, I will always be available. So you can plan on that, or by appointment. So if there's Tuesdays just don't work, talk to me and we can probably work something out. My free periods during the day are 1st, 5th, and 6th. 6th period, I'm in the MARC. 1st and 5th period, I'll either be in 2320, which is the math office, or in 2360, which is my classroom. All right. Please, guys, if you're not understanding this, you got to get some help outside of class. And I am not offended if you would rather go and ask a teacher that you had previously, who you have a great relationship with, who explained things well. I don't care who you get help from. Please, 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 just make sure you get that help so that you can be successful in understanding what we're doing in class. Well, that pretty much sums up everything. What you will need to do, as we talked about in class, is make sure you get this this page on the back signed and brought back to me with your name, parent's name signed, and then for your parents, some contact information there. So that's what we got. If you lose this sheet, there is an extra copy on Schoology. So please go ahead and get that if you need it. Anything else, come talk to me, ask questions in class. Looking forward to a great year.